Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, fresh from giving a workout to my fabulous De Boyer blue carbon steel crepe pan. I love kitchen stuff. I really do. I collect kitchen stuff. So, this was really fun because you have to season it, which I did. And then it was wonderfully slick, and I made some fabulous crepes filled with all kinds of jam and stuff. It's just more fun to do. It really is. But it occurred to me, first of all, in order to make the crepes, I'm with cooking, I'm just like I am with classical music. If I want to have 100 interpretations of something, I want to read 500 crepe recipes, and I watch all the YouTube videos, the how-to videos on how to make them, which is really marvelous. YouTube is such a great resource. It really is. And all of these things have like 7 billion times more views than I usually do because everyone has to eat, but not everyone has to listen. This is a terrific pan. De Boyer is the manufacturer. It really is wonderful, solid, but flippable. And yeah, anyway, the point is, well, look at other crepe pans as time goes on, no doubt about it. It really, really fascinates me when thinking about the relationship between cooking and early music. There are a million ways to make crepes. There are a million recipes for crepe batter. They're all basically the same, right? You need flour, you need eggs, usually a little salt, a little sugar, maybe some vanilla. You mix it all up, some water and milk. And let it sit. Some say you can use it right away. Some say let it sit for an hour. Some say let it rest overnight so that your flour gets hydrated. It's all the same stuff, but there are a bazillion iterations of it. Now, it's true when you get to later romantic music or classical period music, there are a bazillion interpretations of each work. But with early music, there's a lot more freedom and flexibility because a lot less of it is written down, generally speaking. And the performance practice is less settled. There are wider options available. And so it really pays to have multiple recordings of things because they can sound very, very, very different no matter who's doing it, just as your crepes can come out rather different depending on the tools you use, whether you're using, what you call it, carbon steel, which is what this thing is, carbon steel, or cast iron, or non-stick of some type or another, and your slight differences, the formula you use for your batter, and of course, what you fill your crepes with. You can be austere and not fill them with anything. You can be like Gustav Leonhardt, or you can fill them with the most exotic and luscious and interesting fillings and things. It's wonderful. Anyway, so what am I talking about here? Monteverdi, the Combattimento di Tancredi e Clorinda, specifically, which is absolutely the most fabulous thing you've ever heard in your life. It's 20 minutes long. It's a scena, really an operatic scena. It comes from his 8th book of madrigals, the Madrigali Guerrieri ed Amoroso, the madrigals of love and war, whatever it's called, which has a lot of other things in it too, large works. There's nothing madrigal-esque about this music. This is music in the secunda practica, modern music. That is, solo vocals principally, accompanied by an instrumental ensemble with a continuo bass. It's the beginning of the Baroque period. And for that reason, there is so much that you can do with these pieces, and they are so fresh and so new sounding. Monteverdi was just an insane genius. And the story, the Combattimento, it comes from, Gerusalemme Liberata, or one of those epic poems by one of those folks. It has 3 characters. You have a narrator, in this case, Nigel Rogers, Clorinda, who is a woman dressed as a man and as a knight. So you can't see she's got her, visor down and whatnot. Patrizia Kwella and David Thomas as Tancredi. So those are the 3 of them. In this case, it's Musica, Antiqua, Köln under Reinhard Goebel, back when he still liked music, because because he's on the record as like not liking it so much anymore. I don't know. There was some weird interview he gave. He was an odd guy. Anyway, it's on Archive. And the story is very simple. The two of them run into each other. They challenge each other to a duel. They circle around. They whack each other with their swords. And Tancredi kills Clorinda. And of course, as soon as she strikes her down, he realizes that she's a woman. And he's horrified at the fact that he's killed a woman. But she says, nah, don't worry. It was my fault. How could you tell? I was dressed as a guy. And my spirit is going to heaven. And, you know, they do all the, you know, spirit going to heaven business at the end. It's 20 minutes long and it's graphic. It's really, really graphic. It's so much fun. The first time I heard it, I just couldn't believe how much joy Monteverdi was getting out of just naive illustration. You know, they run into each other at the very beginning, and she, you know, gives him the finger, and he chases after her on his horse. So the music goes cha 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 cha. You know, and of course the narrator's going segue impetuoso, you know, as he's following her impetuously, and catches up to her, and you know, he says, you know, what are you doing? And she says, I'm bringing death and war, and she says, guerra e morte, and she says, you know, or he says that, and she says, guerra e morte tu ma frai, you're going to have it, you want it, you got it. And then, you know, they get off their horse, and the music goes, and then they pace. Dum, bum, dum, dum, dum. You know, they circle each other slowly, and then they go at it like two jealous bulls in a rage. Quai due tori gelosi. And they go, and the music. This is the piece that invented the string tremolo, supposedly. You know, so the strings are all going, chugga, 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 you know, they're like clobbering each other, and then it becomes very lyrical, of course, after he kills her. It's really, really cool, and just gobs of fun. And this is such a fabulous performance. Yeah, Goebel's is amazing. The continuoist here, I don't know who it is, but they use the harpsichord very intelligently to add to the coloristic and descriptive possibilities of the music. You know, he pulls out his sword, whoop, you know, the harpsichord goes, whoop, you know, that's not written. That's part of the interpretation. It's part of the stuff that you can do. And it's entirely right. You should make this thing as descriptive as you possibly can, with just strings and harpsichord. And that's what they do. And the singing is absolutely fabulous. And you also get Carolyn Watkinson singing the Lamento de Ariana, which is also part of the Madrigals Book 8, I believe, or the Lament of the Nymph, one of those things, is in there. And then you've got other works. You know, you've got some instrumental pieces, Carlo Farina's Sonata La Desperata. Yeah. And Salomone Rossi's Sonata Sopra l'Aria di Ruggiero. And let's see, Giovanni Battista Fontana, Sonata for 3 violins. Biagio Marini, a whole bunch of little orchestral pieces, including an echo with 3 violins. Echo things were a big deal back then. You know, someone played it, then someone echoed it in the distance or something. And then Giovanni Battista Buonamente, his Sonata for 3 violins. So you've got vocal and orchestral works of this period, the period when Baroque music was slowly being discovered and the genius of Monteverdi shone brightly over Mantua and other towns. And it's just a glorious, glorious disc full of fabulous music, much of which you haven't heard, no doubt, and which contains one of the most important and shattering masterpieces in the history of Western music. What could be bad? So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.